Good evening, friends. Father Frank Pavone here, National Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to our evening broadcast. Greetings from Evangelist Alvita King that works full-time on our team right here at Priests for Life and has been doing so for some 15 years now. She and I bring you these programs regularly, and I hope you see her on her regular Wednesday afternoon slot, and often she and I are together on Friday in the morning and various other spots throughout the day, depending on what's going on. Tonight, I want to bring you some reflections about the debate the other night, the first presidential debate, and some very, very interesting observations from that I want to share with you not only tonight, but for some weeks to come, because there's a lot to digest there, and it will help us to understand the dynamics of this race and really some of the outlandish things that Biden and the Democrats say. We've got to be equipped to answer these things. Alvita and I are always urging people, get informed. We have to not only inform ourselves, but we've got time now, each and every day, all of us, to reach as many other voters as possible with the information that will counteract what they're hearing on the mainstream media and give them the opportunity to spread the truth by means of social media platforms where you're watching now and elsewhere. I hope you're following both me and Alvita, and my Twitter and Instagram are FR Frank Pavone. Facebook is Father Frank Pavone, and of course you look for Alvita King, and you'll see her here as well. Well, why don't we begin with prayer? My book, Pro-Life Reflections for Every Day, provides a little reflection for each day of the year based in Scripture and pro-life. So for today, 1st of October, Revelation 1:18, I hold the keys of death. Reflection, the alternative to accepting death is to try to control it by giving ourselves the authority to take life. Hence we have abortion, infanticide, and euthanasia. Just take control. Eliminate suffering by eliminating the person who suffers. Euthanasia is killing, and as such it contradicts the fact that God is God. Let us pray. Lord, you are in control of my life, my suffering, my death. May I never forget that. Amen. If you'd like this book, Pro-Life Reflections for Every Day, you can go to that website, prolifereflectionsforeveryday.com, and order a copy. Now, well, a lot of things to share with you tonight. Let me get right to it. We're going to look at a couple of things from the debate, but first I want to point out that yesterday was a special anniversary. And let me go to the board here. We're going to use the board just to emphasize certain facts that I want you to remember. And you might remember Congressman Henry Hyde. He was one of the great pro-life leaders in the United States Congress for many, many years through the 70s. And let me show you a picture of me with him in the early 1990s when I was first starting with Priests for Life. Let's show that picture of me with Congressman Henry Hyde. He was from Illinois. And he served in the Congress for many, many years. And it was after him that this amendment was named. It is actually a rider attached to appropriation spending bills, that is, in the Congress. Okay, and we can take off the picture. And the Hyde Amendment, let me get this marker here, is an amendment that protects tax dollars from going to abortion in the Medicaid program. So, Hyde Amendment, Congress has to vote on it each time they vote on the spending bills. It's not permanent law. But here's the point I want to make for you, brothers and sisters. Pro-life researchers have analyzed how many lives this amendment has saved by keeping taxpayer dollars from funding abortions through Medicaid. You ready? 2.4 million lives saved. Henry Hyde has gone on to his reward, and he was remembered for an impassioned speech, remembered for many things, but he gave an impassioned speech one time in Congress saying that for us who have fought for the unborn, we will be greeted by a chorus of voices in heaven pleading for us before the Lord. Well, 2.4 million have greeted him, you can be sure, saved by this amendment that he introduced. Again, no tax dollars in Medicaid for abortions. That's what the Hyde Amendment says. Why should our tax money be used to kill a baby, right? Most people, even people who think that abortion should be allowed for whatever reasons, don't want to pay for it. This is the Hyde Amendment. 2.4 million lives saved. Now, the Democrats, this is where this becomes an election issue. Biden, the party platform, you know what they say? What does Joe Biden want to do? Does he care about these 2.4 million lives that have been saved and the millions more that can be saved if we keep this amendment in effect? No. Biden says, the Democrat Party platform says, all his colleagues say, get rid of the Hyde Amendment. Which means not only do they not care about these 2.4 million lives, but they want you and me to pay for the destruction of life moving forward. I have here, let's go back to the chair. We just recently got back from the printer our comparison piece of the Democrat and Republican Party platforms. You can order this from us, by the way. Go to votinginfo.net, votinginfo.net. One side is English, the other side is Spanish, and it takes 6 issues and just quotes from the party platform. There's no editorial comment on this. I'm giving you the editorial comment here, but there's no editorial comment on this. It's simply the quotations from the party platforms on a variety of issues. And on the first one, on human life, let's listen to this. Here's from the Democrat Party platform. I'm just going to quote it for you. Democrats believe every woman should be able to access abortion. We oppose and will fight to overturn federal and state laws that create barriers to women's reproductive health and rights, including by repealing the Hyde Amendment and protecting and codifying the right to reproductive freedom. Repealing the Hyde Amendment means forcing you to fund abortions. That's what it means, because this is what the Hyde Amendment does, is it takes Medicaid money and protects it from funding abortions. They want to abolish the Hyde Amendment. This is not a matter of opinion. This is right there, clearly on the party platform. And Biden, by the way, before he got the idea of running for president, he was not in favor of abolishing the Hyde Amendment, if you go back in his Senate career. But lo and behold, he changed. One more piece of evidence, by the way, of what the president always says, what President Trump always makes clear, that you and I know, he is a puppet of the far left of the Democrat Party, the far radical left that are so in bed with the abortion industry that they want no limitation whatsoever, and they want you and me to pay for it. Don't forget this and let people know. By the way, get this party platform. Again, votinginfo.net, votinginfo.net. You can get this. We'll send you as many copies as you can use. Use them in your churches and so forth. Okay. Second thing I want to say to you about is the Amy Barrett nomination. Now, this was brought up, of course, in the debate, And Joe Biden made a ridiculous assertion. Oh, the voters, have a right to speak about this before we nominate another person to the Supreme Court. Mr. Biden, what in the world are you talking about? The voters have already spoken. And President Trump answered this very, very well in the debate. He said, I wasn't elected for 3 years or 3.5 years. I was elected for a 4-year term. And the senators in the United States Senate who were elected, and the Republican majority grew, you will recall, in the 2018 midterm elections, were elected for terms of 6 years. So the fact of the matter is, the voters already spoke. The voters knew what they were doing. They knew they were getting a president for 4 years. They knew they were getting senators for 6 years when they elected them. You can't say, oh, we can't put this woman on the Supreme Court because the voters have to speak. What on earth is he talking about? The voters have already spoken. Can we get this clear in our minds? Because you're probably going to hear Democrat friends say the same thing. Oh, well, we have to wait for the election. Where do we have to wait for the election? Where does it say that? It says it nowhere. We've got, friends, we're relying on each and every one of you to get this word out clearly to the people that you have access to, just as we're getting it out to the people that we have access to. I want to read you. It's not just Biden; it's all these Democrats over there that are just wacky. Senator Dianne Feinstein. Oh boy, is she a piece of work? She formally requested a delay. Now, this is the name of the game with the Democrats when it comes to this Supreme Court nominee. Because look, we know what's going on here. We're replacing the most liberal member of the Supreme Court, who was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who served since 1993 on that court, 27 years. The most liberal member of the court is being replaced now with one of the strongest conservative pro-life judges in our country, and one of the most brilliant, also a woman, Amy Coney Barrett. So, and what this does is it gives conservative, pro-life leaning judges a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. This is, for those on the left, I mean, this is catastrophic, because these people serve for their whole lives on the court. So this is catastrophic for them. So they will use every delay tactic they possibly can. Now the good news is they have very, very little power here to stop this process. Okay, the Republican Senate is ready and is committed. The leadership of Senator Mitch McConnell from Kentucky, and those of you in Kentucky, you're going to re-elect him this election, and Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, who heads up the Judiciary Committee where these hearings are held. South Carolina people are going to re-elect him also. We're going to show a clip in a minute from him. They're committed to carrying this through. But we're going to hear from the Democrats all sorts of things about delay. They're going to use every trick in the book to try to delay this process. Again, this is ridiculous what Feinstein is saying. She says that the timeline that has been set out, well, first of all, she says, okay, the timeline for considering Judge Barrett's nomination, this is Democrat Senator Feinstein's words, is incompatible with the Senate's constitutional role. That's ridiculous. No, Senator, it isn't. There is no timeline set out in the Constitution that says, oh, you need X number of days or X number of weeks for confirming somebody to the Supreme Court. It doesn't say that. All it says is that the president is responsible for nominating the judge, and the Senate does advice and consent. Doesn't give any timeline. And as a matter of fact, Justice Ginsburg, her whole nomination and confirmation process took about the same amount of time as we have for Amy Barrett before Election Day. When her nomination was announced, it was 43 days till Election Day. Justice Ginsburg, her whole process took 42 days. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor back under President Reagan, it only took 32 days. And Justice John Paul Stevens took 19 days. The whole process took 19 days. Let's go back to the board and let's spell this out for you, because I really want you to know this, to understand it, to be able to point this out to others, because no doubt you'll be involved in conversations, or maybe you want to put this on social media or let other people. You're our army, friends. You're the ones. You're the emissaries of this information. So, no timeline. First of all, there is no timeline in the Constitution on matters of putting these judges on the courts. It says the president nominates, the Senate advises and consents. That's it. And again, the president gets elected for 4 years, not for 3 years. So nobody can tell him. By the way, so you see, so if you're going to say no nominations in election year, because, again, as Biden says, let the voters say where they want this to go. Yeah, but they already voted. If you're going to take this approach, we're in the final months, of the administration, and therefore, we can't put any additional people on the court. Well, then why don't you, by that same logic, say no laws are going to be signed? Why, by that same logic, can you say no executive orders are going to be written? Why, by that logic, do you not simply say no governance is going to occur? No governance at all. Why? Well, because we have to let the voters decide. Are these people really so shallow mentally that they seriously make these arguments and they think you and I should accept them? Come on already. You follow this logic, and it's like in the fourth year of his presidency, the president should just sit back and do nothing. And then, of course, they'll complain that he does nothing. Some people like Mike Hunt that want to do kind of things like this, but we don't have a government anymore. Because you know what? Then you make the same argument for the senators. You make the same argument for those in the House of Representatives. You make the same argument for state legislators. You make the same argument for everybody. You make the same argument for the judges themselves. The voters have to speak, so we're not going to do anything in the meantime. Ridiculous. And furthermore, she goes on to say this Feinstein must have something wrong with her. She goes on to say to put this nomination through would be a sharp departure from past practice. A sharp departure from past practice. Feinstein, it might be time for you to retire, because you've got it wrong. It is not a sharp departure from past practice. It is completely consistent with past practice. You know how many times in American history, in the history of our courts, a vacancy on the Supreme Court has occurred during a presidential election year? 29 times. Past practice, Feinstein. Let's give you a little quiz. You senator there, Democrat senator. How many times of those 29, when there were vacancies in a presidential election year, did a president, and we're talking about both Republican and Democrat presidents, how many times did they nominate a justice? 29 times. They always did, friends. They always did. You know why? Because they understand it's their constitutional duty to do so. And they understand, again, they were elected for 4 years, not 3. So let's stop the nonsense. What they ought to do, these Democrats, is just be honest about what it is that they're trying to do. Namely, they want to stop the nominee from getting on the court because they don't like her ideology and her position. Now, they did these delay tactics with the Kavanaugh hearings. You remember what happened? Oh, yes, Brett Kavanaugh. The Democrats put on a national disgrace, a circus. And they used not only the underhanded tactics of getting a letter of complaint, and then again, this goes to Feinstein. Feinstein, this isn't a good night for you, okay? You know, this is not a good night here for you in this program. Because she got the letter of complaint from Professor Ford and sat on it. It didn't go to the full committee. It didn't go to the FBI. It didn't go to the people who could have put it in right away into consideration. It wasn't raised in the private meetings that Kavanaugh had with the senators. It wasn't brought up in the questions that he was sent to answer. They sat on it and then dropped it like a bombshell. This makes a mockery of the process. And furthermore, they did all manner of delays. In fact, the Democrats interrupted like spoiled children, like frantic children in those hearings. You go back and watch those hearings, and when the opening statements were being made in the hearings, they didn't let the chairman even get the first sentence out, and they were interrupting left and right. Just to give you an idea of what was happening here, you know, one of the ways that they tried to introduce delays was document requests. Now, Brett Kavanaugh had issued hundreds of decisions, hundreds of judicial decisions, and was party to hundreds more. And that is a large record that was available to every senator electronically, his entire judicial record. Furthermore, he had worked with Ken Starr in the independent investigation of Bill Clinton, and Brett Kavanaugh was staff secretary at the White House. You know what the Senate Democrats decided to do? Now, mind you, people who had already decided that they were not going to vote for him. So they had made up their minds, but then they pretended, oh, we need more documents in order to make up our minds. The hypocrites did. Oh, we got to have more documents because we got to see, you know, if this person is, well, what it is that they were trying to see wasn't clear, because it was clear that he was qualified. But they were, oh, we need more documents to create the impression that, oh, you know, we've got to make a judgment call here that's fully informed. They had already decided that they were going to vote against him. But no, we need more information. To request all the documentation from the time he served at the White House would mean 7 million documents. 7 million pages of documents. 7 million! You know what 7 million pages looks like, Janet? 7 million pages. Furthermore, the paperwork that Brett Kavanaugh oversaw in his role as staff secretary included all the things that came across the office of the president, including things like when the flag should be flown at half staff, or menus and lunch orders and things like that. These things have no relevance whatsoever to the qualifications of a nominee to serve as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. And the question of those qualifications is the only question that the Senate Judiciary Committee is supposed to be analyzing when they take a nominee from the President of the United States and carry out their constitutional duty to advise and consent on that nominee. Now, after they had the hearings, and they had requested all these documents, and then they had the hearings, another way that the Democrats tried to delay the Kavanaugh hearings, well, was to request written answers to written questions. Okay. So they can do this. They started doing it in the 1970s, so it's not like it goes back to the 1700s, but they started supplementing the hearings with written questions. Let's send them some written questions to answer. At the time of Justice Scalia, do you know how many written questions they submitted to him, the Senate submitted to him to answer? Get this. Scalia, for his confirmation to the Supreme Court, had to answer 3 questions in writing. Now, by the time it got to Justice Gorsuch, the first nominee of President Trump, well, it multiplied by 100. 324 questions he was asked to answer. Brett Kavanaugh was given more questions to answer than all of the previous nominees combined. Kavanaugh, 1,287 questions. You see what the Democrats were trying to do? Listen, these people who were asking for these questions from the Democrats on the committee, they had already made up their minds that they were against this nominee. What do they need all these questions answered for? Delay, delay, delay. So now, what do we see happening with the Amy Coney Barrett nomination? Well, D is for Democrat, and D is for delay. Here they go again. But fortunately, they're not going to, with all their tactics, here's what's going to happen. She's meeting with the senators now. Now, Democrat senators don't want to meet with her. A lot of them. All right, fine. All right. You go your own way. Fact of the matter is we're going to start hearings on October 12th. Introductory comments and statements. The 13th and the 14th, she will be questioned in the hearings. 15th, there will be other witnesses. And then the vote then could happen on that day. According to the process, it could happen on that day. To vote her out of committee. The Senate Judiciary Committee has to vote. Of course, the majority is Republican because the Republicans hold the majority in the Senate. Therefore, they hold the majority on the committee. So they'll vote her out of committee. But the Democrats do have the authority here to delay it for a week. So we expect that she won't be voted out of committee until October 22nd. And then the full vote of the United States Senate will take place the week of October 26th into the 30th. We'll probably have a full vote by the Senate right at the end of that week. Just a handful of days before Election Day. This is very dramatic, and we're in a very dramatic moment here. So, they can finagle around requiring documents. Remember, Senate Judge Amy Coney Barrett is now serving on the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. You know what that means? She's already been through a Senate confirmation process, and not that long ago. It was in 2017. Some of the very same senators. Feinstein had the chance to interview her back then. So we've got, she's been through this already. She's been vetted. Of course, Kavanaugh had been vetted too, so he could serve on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. But, okay, so in any case, this is where we stand. I want to give you a little reminder. I want to show you a clip. It's a substantial clip of Senator Lindsey Graham in the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing for now Justice Brett Kavanaugh. I want you to hear this. You have seen it before if you followed this whole case. It was epic. And it was a turning point in the charade that the Senate Democrats put this country through with the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh. But there was a day when Senator Graham, he's the chairman, by the way, of the committee. Then he was a member of the committee. He had had enough. And all of us Americans, all of us patriots, had had enough of this sham. I want to play the clip of Senator Graham excoriating the Senate Democrats for what they were doing to Brett Kavanaugh. And let's just watch this. I mean, you, most of you have seen this before, but let's take a look.
Are you aware that at 9:23 on the night of July the 9th, the day you were nominated to the Supreme Court by President Trump, Senator Schumer said, 23 minutes after your nomination, "I will oppose Judge Kavanaugh's nomination with everything I have. I have a bipartisan, and I hope a less." Well, if you weren't aware of it, you are now. Did you meet with Senator Dianne Feinstein on August 20th?
I did meet with Senator Feinstein.
Did you know that her staff had already recommended a lawyer to Dr. Ford?
I did not know that.
Did you know that her and her staff had this allegations for over 20 days?
I did not know that at the time.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsay said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham, that you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process. You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend. Do you consider this a job interview?
The advice and consent role is like a job
You
interview.
consider that you've been through a job interview.
I've been through a process of advice and consent under the Constitution. Which
Would you say you've been through hell?
I've been through hell and then some.
This is not a job interview.
Yeah.
This is hell. This is going to destroy the ability of good people to come forward because of this crap. Your high school yearbook. You have interacted with professional women all your life, not one accusation. You're supposed to be Bill Cosby when you're a junior and senior in high school. And all of a sudden you got over it. It's been my understanding that if you drug women and rape them for 2 years in high school, you probably don't stop. Here's my understanding. If you lived a good life, people would recognize it, like the American Bar Association has the gold standard. His integrity is absolutely unquestioned. He is the very circumspect in his personal conduct, harbors no biases or prejudices. He's entirely ethical, is a really decent person. He is warm, friendly, unassuming. He's the nicest person. The ABA. The one thing I can tell you, you should be proud of. Ashley, you should be proud of this, that you raised a daughter who had the good character to pray for Dr. Ford. To my Republican colleagues, if you vote no, you're legitimizing the most despicable thing I have seen in my time in politics. You want this seat? I hope you never get it. I hope you're on the Supreme Court. That's exactly where you should be. And I hope that the American people will see through this charade. And I wish you well, and I intend to vote for you, and I hope everybody who's fair-minded will.
Well, the American people did see through that charade, and that's why, contrary to political history and patterns and probabilities, the president's party, the Republican Party, the party supporting Brett Kavanaugh, gained seats, did not lose them, but gained seats in that midterm election 2 years ago. And that's why the Senate Democrats this time have to be very, very careful the way they're going to treat President Trump's third Supreme Court nominee, Judge Amy Coney Barrett, this time around, over these coming days and weeks. Senate Democrats, be warned. You risk this election. You risk losing even more Senate seats if you carry on the kind of sham that you did in 2018, because the American voters rejected that. By the way, if you want to know a very excellent behind-the-scenes summary of the Kavanaugh confirmation process, this book, I was just talking with one of its co-authors just yesterday, Carrie Severino is a fantastic expert on our judicial system, and Molly Hemingway is just stellar as well. Justice on Trial, the Kavanaugh confirmation and the future of the Supreme Court. Really excellent book. I highly recommend it. So, let me show you another clip, and this one is about our stellar nominee now, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. I just did an interview, by the way, with a colleague of ours within the pro-life movement, Professor Carter Sneed. He is one of the colleagues and good friends of Judge Amy Barrett, and we had him interviewed here through our studios, and we're going to show you that in the coming days as well. But let's see this little short ad about this wonderful nominee, Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
You will hear a lot about Amy Coney Barrett. Hear it from her.
Courts are not arenas for politics. You are not there to decide cases as you may prefer. You are there to do your duty and to follow the law wherever it may take you.
Amy Coney Barrett follows the law and ignores politics. A scholar, a judge, grounded in faith and family, she's the perfect choice to follow Justice Ginsburg.
She is a perfect choice, and thank you, President Trump, and thanks also to all those who helped advise the president. And by the way, where's Joe Biden's list? Let's go back over to the board here, because we've got to put a question up here that we've got to ask of all the supporters of Biden. You know any supporters of Biden? Ask them, where's the list? Where's the list? President Trump is being very... He asked this in the debate, by the way. You notice Biden didn't answer it, nor did Chris Wallace follow up on it. Surprise, surprise. Where's the list, Biden? Why can't you be as transparent with the American people? See, here's where, once again, as he does in countless ways, Biden and the Democrats, they so grossly contradict themselves. It's sad. It's pathetic. Here on the one hand, he's saying, well, let's delay this nomination because, the voters have the right to decide. Here's Feinstein saying, let's delay this because the American people really have to come to an understanding of who this nominee is. Well, don't you think that if you want the American people to decide what direction they want the court to go, and they want to really absorb an understanding of who the nominee is, don't you think that telling people in advance a list of those from whom you would choose a nominee would help that process? If you want the American people to decide which way the court is going to go, well then that's an argument for telling them whom you would choose. You don't have to tell them the specific person you would choose, but show them a list of the people from whom you would make your choice. And this way here, people can do their research well in advance. People have had years. President Trump announced Amy Barrett's name a long time ago on his list of those he would choose for the Supreme Court. People have had all kinds of time to learn who she is. And then voters see Joe Biden. If you release a list and say, I would choose my Supreme Court nominees from this list, you see, then you're giving the voters a chance to decide. Because then they can say, hey, I really like the kind of people he put on this list, and that would motivate them to vote for you. But if they look at the list and say, no, I think these people are too left-wing, liberal, wacko, I don't want these people on the Supreme Court. Hey, Joe Biden, you're giving the voters a chance to make a decision, right? Show us your list. Yeah, but you see, he doesn't want to do that. And that's what makes this whole thing a sham from the point of view of the Democrats. Okay, let's move on to another topic here. This came up in the debates also. Is it true, President Trump, that you only paid $750 in taxes in 2017? The ignorance. The lies. The lies. You know how much he paid in taxes in in 2017, $750 in cash, and then in credit, by tax credit, $7,435,107. President Trump answered this question back in the debates of 2016 when his tax records from previous years had been brought into question. And he answered it in exactly the way that this is explained now. He utilizes the provisions of the tax code, which is a very huge and complicated document, which many lawmakers want to simplify. But he knows and he utilizes the tax code to obtain tax credits, which then can lower the amount that you owe and pay, because he is putting billions of dollars into the economy, the buildings, the hotels, the skylines, all the businesses that he has. He knows how to use the tax code, not in a dishonest way, but in a very legitimate way, to get the tax deductions that are available to him. Just because he's smart in being able to use the provisions that would apply to a very complicated interlocking set of businesses that you really need, tax experts to walk you through in detail. But the concept is simple. He did pay this in this manner, and he paid this in cash. But it was all, in other words, the bottom line is simply this. He paid what he owed. Every penny. There are some excellent articles that explain this. Being it came up, there are some excellent articles that explain this, and they explain it in much more detail, but this is the short version of it. And by the way, brothers and sisters, another little point that should be emphasized: it is illegal to release somebody's tax returns in this way. Illegal. So whatever clowns got hold of this information and decided to make it into a public news story have broken the law and should be investigated and punished. And we should be talking about that too. But listen, not one penny of what he owed did not get paid. Okay, so Biden, stop using this ridiculous smear. And this is what we're going to see practically every day between now and the election. Lies and smears and attacks, because they know they cannot beat President Trump at the polls. So they're going to try to trot out one ridiculous story after another to try to get people to see headlines that make them doubt. Headlines, mind you, headlines to make them doubt whether they should vote for President Trump without delving deeper into the facts. And that's why it's so important for us to be together for these programs, so that we can delve deeper into the facts. And I want to delve deeper into the facts on one more thing in the final segment of our program here. One more thing. And this came up in the debate, and it really shows again how unworthy of our vote Joe Biden is and the Democrats. This came up in the debate, but of course, these debates are, people are, exchanging things real quick, and it's really not a chance to delve deeply into this stuff. But I want to point out to you something about the Paris Climate Accord. Now, the president has taken action to make sure we have a safe and clean environment. And we have one of the best records on the environment here in the United States. Clean water, clean air. The president's team has done a whole range of actions. You can see them, by the way. You look at the environment section. Okay, environmental policy. at promiseskept.com. By the way, it's well worth reading through that whole website before the election and challenge your friends to do that. Promiseskept.com shows you the accomplishments of the Trump administration, because this election has to focus on policies, not personalities. It has to focus on accomplishments, not accusations. And so, promiseskept.com, read through it yourselves. Urge others to read through it. And if you want to see what President Trump is doing on the economy, there's a whole, on the environment rather, there's a section on the economy too, but in the environment, you can see that section. But I want to talk for a moment about this Paris Climate Accord, because, the president always says in his rallies, we got out of the Paris Climate Accord. Why is that a good thing? Why is it good? It sounds, because on the surface, and this is what the Democrats will do, they'll just take it on the surface. Oh, he got out of the Paris Climate Accord. I want you to keep in mind as I explain some of this, that Joe Biden said in the debate, if I were elected, we would go back into the Paris Climate Accord. We would go back into it. Now keep that in your mind, because he said we would go back into it. Now, you gotta wonder, after I give you a little bit of an explanation here, whether Joe Biden even knows what the Paris Climate Accord is. It's not about climate. It's about putting America at an economic disadvantage in the sight of other nations. That's what it does. It is unfair to America, because what this Paris Climate Accord does is based on globalism. It's not based on the interests of the American people and our jobs and our wages and our factories and our economic production. It does damage to those things. What happens is that we have to take an economic hit to America, again in the terms terms of lost jobs, lower wages, shuttered factories. I'll give you some statistics on these in a moment. And lower productivity, lower production. But meanwhile, this is an economic hit to America. Now you would think, if it's going to be an accord between nations, we all want to get together and we want to help the climate, we want to help the environment. Well, let's all pitch in on an equal basis, right? Let's all pitch in on an equal level. Well, we would have to close our coal factories, but not China. In fact, China, under this accord, for 13 years, they can do what they want. You realize that? They can increase their coal production. They can do what they want in regard to carbon emissions. We would bear the burden of having to slash our economic production, but not China. For 13 years, they get a free pass. And India said, we'll get in on this. We'll get in on this accord. Oh, yeah. But we want billions of dollars to do so. India gets billions of dollars. China can do whatever it wants for 13 years. But America? Oh, America. America the beautiful, right? We love America. The president loves America. We who vote for him love America. But Joe Biden, do you care about America? Because look, and this is you want to see the hypocrisy of Biden in this debate? We'll wait for this. The Paris Accord would bring so many energy restrictions to America that by 2025, it would cost us as many as I'm going to put this in red, 2.7 million jobs lost. Joe Biden, do you even know that? Is it that you don't know? or is it that you don't care? Answer the question. This wasn't posed to him in the debate. Chris Wallace, he was there lifting Biden up and carrying her on his shoulders, wasn't he? He didn't ask him the tough question when Biden said, I would get us back into the Paris Climate Accord. As if he's buddy-buddy with, the globalist environmentalists. This is a great thing, we got to care for the environment. Why wasn't Biden asked, if in a handful of years we're going to lose 2.7 million jobs. And here's where Biden really is hypocritical in this debate. Well, watch what he did. Let me just make some more room here. Watch what he did. What the Paris Climate Accord would do, we would lose 440,000 manufacturing jobs. Because again, understand something. The president has nothing against helping the environment. Neither do I. All of us have to help the environment. But brothers and sisters, understand something. This climate accord, the objections that President Trump has to it has nothing to do with helping the environment or not helping the environment. It has to do with ruining the American economy. We would lose 440,000 manufacturing jobs. Now, here's where Biden is such a hypocrite, and he was not called out on this in the debate. Because what happened was, he had the gall to stand there and criticize the president, lie to the president that he cost us manufacturing jobs. Biden said to the president, you cost us manufacturing jobs. Do you know how many manufacturing jobs pre-COVID-19 President Trump's administration was responsible for bringing back into this country? 500,000. He brought us, Trump brought us 500,000 manufacturing jobs. So first of all, Joe Biden lied. Either it's a lie or it's ignorance. And neither one is very helpful if you want to be the President of the United States. When he dared to say that President Trump cost us manufacturing jobs, Joe, what planet did you come from? But then he had the gall to say, but I would get us back into the Paris Climate Accord. In other words, shame on you for costing us manufacturing jobs, ignoring that he brought us 500,000 of them. But then I would get us into an agreement that would make us lose almost as many as apparently I don't realize you brought us. Thank you, Cheryl. She says, I demand Father Frank be the moderator of the next debate. I would be happy to do so. So you see here what's going on? I mean, you sit and watch, and when you know these things, I'm going to give you one more fact about this, then we're going to have to conclude. But when you sit there and you know these things, and you listen to how absolutely superficial these debates are, these comments are, I mean, President Trump said the right things, but Biden said things were totally outrageous. But then you see there are these just beneath the surface, these utter hypocritical contradictions that you don't even see them unless you know the facts of the thing that they're talking about. We got to inform ourselves, and we've got to inform our friends and neighbors. Here's the final thing I want to say about this ridiculous Paris Climate Accord. Again, it had nothing to do with how much we love the environment. We all love the environment. And again, the president is doing things to protect the environment. But my friends, my goodness, these accords, it's globalism. It's not America first. It's not America. It's putting America at a disadvantage. Here's the fact. If all the nations implemented this, let's say everybody went along with it, including America, and we all implemented it, and people are wondering about global warming, oh, we can't let the earth get too hot, okay? Listen, climate always changes. The question is whether, you think it's human activity that is changing the climate. You know how much the entire Paris Climate Accord, with all the nations participating, would prevent the warming in Celsius of the Earth's overall temperature? Get ready for this. 0.2 of 1 degree. This would be the great benefit, okay, at the cost of billions of dollars in the economy, millions of jobs, factories closed. It would bring about a 0.2 of 1 degree Celsius of the Earth's overall temperature, prevent it from rising that much. You ready? By the year 2100. So just absorb that for a moment. 0.2 of 1 degree Celsius by the year 2100. Furthermore, America, having lost, and by the way, remember, all this time China can do whatever they want for 13 years, but America then having lost some $3 trillion, now this is only by 2040, America would lose some $3 trillion in gross domestic product, 6.5 million industrial jobs, households would have $7,000 less income, and all kinds of other things like that. From the sacrifices that America made, they would be offset by China's emissions into the atmosphere. You ready for this? For only 14 days. In other words, 14 days of China's emissions into the atmosphere would offset all the benefit to the environment that from all the sacrifices that the United States of America would have had to make by the year 2030. This is, if half of this could just be brought up in these debates, if half of this could just be brought up in any way to the American public, we would not be so so deceived when we hear these things. Superficial, friends, it's superficial. And they don't care. Biden doesn't care about you understanding these things. Democrats couldn't care. I don't think he understands it. Democrats couldn't care less about you understanding these things. They couldn't care less. Let's go back to the chair here. I want to just tell you one more thing. So, every time the president has a rally, we show that rally here on these channels where you are watching now. Tomorrow night the president has a rally, and you know what? He's only going to be about an hour from here, where we are here at Priests for Life in Florida. So I'm going to go and be with him. And when you watch the rally, you'll see I will be with the Right Side Broadcasting Network. They're the broadcasting company that we use to bring you the signal, bring you the feed of the rally. They're the ones that bring their cameras there, and they broadcast it far and wide. And they get more viewers at Right Side Broadcasting Network than Fox News gets on all of its online programs when they show these rallies. So I'll be there, and I'll be doing guest commentating with them. I'll bring up some of the things I was talking about tonight. We'll bring it to that bigger audience tomorrow night, and I hope you'll be watching along with us, because it's not my commentary that we're going to be most interested in. We're going to listen to the president himself. once again, it's a great vote. It's a great voter education effort and tool. So invite others to watch the president's rally. It's going to begin at 7 p.m. and it will be. Usually he talks for about 90 minutes or so, and 7 p.m. and we are going to bring you that live with our commentary. So, thanks, friends, for listening. I know that you'll pass this information on to others. And those that don't like what we're saying here, boy, are they in for a bad day on November the 3rd. It's going to be a repeat of 2016, but worse. And their heads are going to spin off. Some of them are watching now. You got a few people here that, they have this deluded idea, and it is deluded. It really is. That somehow Biden and the Democrats would be a better choice for America. You know what you have to think if you believe that? You got to be anti-God, anti-life. You got to be in favor of the slaughter of the unborn. You got to be anti-freedom, anti-America. No borders, no police, no religion, no churches. You got to be against all that stuff. You got to believe in a different kind of America. And you know what? We don't want that in this country. We don't want that kind of a political party. If this was a political party that just had different ideas about how to get to the same goal or different ways of implementing the same principles, well, that's one thing. And then you can have, two different parties and you can battle it out and get trial and error, try different solutions to the problems. But they don't believe in the same principles. And they don't want the same America. And they should not be a political party in the United States of America anymore. Let's just say it clear and straight. We don't need a political party that doesn't believe in America. And Joe Biden, you cannot lead a country that you don't love. Why are you in league with these people who hate America? Why are you letting yourself be led by this far left radical wing that has taken over the Democrat Party and has taken over your campaign and would take over your White House if you ever got elected to it? Why are you in league with people who hate America? Why are you in league with people that don't want us to have a border? Because if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. Why do you want to put America, again, at an economic disadvantage, which you hurt America not just by being in support of the Paris Climate Accord, but the Trans-Pacific Partnership, another one, and not to mention getting China into the World Trade Organization. That hurt us too, but Biden was all in favor of that. Listen, any folks out there that are listening to me now, you're supporters of Biden, you have got to stop in your tracks, and you have really got to examine your head. Make sure you know these things, and you got to test your heart, okay, to ask yourself, do I really love the United States of America? Because you know what? If you don't, then we don't need you anywhere near the White House, the Congress, or the local city council, for that matter. We don't even want you on the local school boards. Friends, if you support what we're doing, I want to ask you tonight also, and Alveda King asks you as well, to support us. You can go to prolifegift.org, because we rely only on people like you to be able to do this work. So I want to ask you tonight, along with taking this information and sharing it, and Ramon is asking if it's being taped. Yes, absolutely, and it will remain on these platforms. I see you're watching on Facebook. It will remain posted there on Facebook where you're watching it now. And it's on our YouTube channel. My YouTube, by the way, address is the same as my Twitter and Instagram, FR Frank Pavone. And so you'll be able to watch and rewatch and share and spread. In fact, I want you to share these programs. This program here tonight, I'm sure that many people that you can reach will appreciate this information just as you have all appreciated it. And I appreciate your comments and your prayers and your gratitude. And again, also your donations, both Alveda and I appreciate that. It helps us both to do our work together with the entire team that we have here at Priests for Life. So thank you, friends. Thank you so much. Again, prolifegift.org. Let me give you a blessing. And then we'll be back with you again tomorrow, including with the president tomorrow night. So may the Lord bless you. May he strengthen you. May he answer all your prayers, protect you and your loved ones, make you strong defenders of the unborn and strong advocates in this election for the vision, the great vision that our president lays out for us. And may we all work together for his re-election. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks, friends, for spending this time with me. You're in my prayers, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Evangelist Alveda King. Day by day, my work with Priest for Life and Father Frank Pavone provides me with many opportunities to speak up for the unborn, whether on television and radio or in conferences with pastors or with government leaders. In order to accomplish all this work, we rely on the donations of individuals like you who believe in this cause and want to help us save lives. May I ask you to support us generously? Go today to prolifegift.org and give as generous a gift as you can. I appreciate it personally and will pray for you each day.
I think we have Richard Lee, we have Jim Garlow, and we have Father Frank Pavone. Someplace they were in the audience, so I appreciate you. I appreciate